covering all of Delmarva. This is WBOC News This Morning, Delmarva's news leader.
Hurting and healing. How Del Mar High School is helping students cope after the tragic accident over the weekend.
Canal commitment. How long it's been since the Rehoboth-Lewis Canal was properly dredged.
And wage worries. Why Eastern Shore restaurants are eyeing legislation across the bridge.
We'll have all that and more coming up this half hour.
But first, the WBOC News This Morning Eye Opener. It's your morning in 60 seconds.
The Del Mar community continues to mourn the tragic death of a local high school student.
Hopefully we can all rally together and stick together and get through this event that we're all dealing with.
The Del Mar High School officials say they will continue to turn this hurt into healing.
The Israel-Hamas conflict having a personal impact on a Salisbury University professor.
We were finally on the verge of real lasting peace in the Middle East.
He says he sees a big burden for Israel.
Restaurants on the Eastern Shore of Maryland are rallying against a proposed Montgomery County law.
It's going to change the restaurant industry, period.
That they fear could increase servers' pay statewide. The Lewis-Rehoboth Canal is finally getting some much-needed relief.
There's never been a real major dredging of the full canal.
Thanks to a 3-month dredging project.
Hopefully this will help.
This morning's Eye Opener is presented by Bay to Beach Builders. Fine homes built with Amish craftsmanship.
At 6:31, grief and sadness continues for the Del Mar community after a tragic car crash over the weekend killed a Del Mar High School student and seriously injured another.
Police are now giving us a little clearer picture of what led to the deadly crash. Investigators say the unidentified 17-year-old driver lost control of this car in Salisbury. It was around 12:30 Saturday morning. It hit a pole. He is now facing numerous charges, including homicide by motor vehicle, criminal negligent manslaughter, and DUI. Now, among the 4 teenagers inside the car, 16-year-old Carter Figgs here, who tragically died the night of the crash. Another passenger reportedly in critical condition this morning.
A small memorial marks the scene of Saturday morning's crash. The memorial at the corner of Route 13 and Lloyd Street honors Carter's football number 32 with candles and flowers. As many in Del Mar continue to mourn the tragedy, they've also come together to support each other through the grief. Monday was especially tough for Del Mar High School students as class resumed for the first time since the accident. School sports were either canceled or optional for teams Monday out of respect for those involved in the crash. Del Mar Superintendent Andrew O'Neill says they'll continue to put their strength into healing.
To be here to assist kids as needed, to continue to provide counseling services, support services, and anything that the parents, families need to continue to go forward. And, just have our community stick with us and be there as a support service like they're currently doing right now.
The fire from Sunday night's vigil continues to burn. Organizers say they want it to be a place to reflect and grieve during this trying time.
Meanwhile, Carter Figgs' team, the Del Mar Wildcats varsity squad, still processing the loss of a friend they grew up with and played alongside for years. Many attended Sunday night's bonfire and vigil, mourning the loss of someone they consider a brother. But despite the grief, his teammates say they're focusing on Carter's strength and the joy he brought to those around him.
Everything's a team. We're all big one family. No matter what sport you play, if you go to Del Mar, we're all one. We got each other's backs no matter what. It's more than a family. It's unexplainable. And for all of us to be here for him, it shows our love. It shows that we cared about him, that we were there for him no matter what.
The team says despite the pain, they plan to honor Carter on the field, and they're dedicating the rest of the season to his memory. The team plays this Thursday night, Lake Forest High School. Homecoming the following weekend. Del Mar Wildcats varsity squad says they're honoring Carter in some way then, too.
At 6:34 and in other news this morning, the body of a missing boater has been recovered in the Indian River Bay. Delaware State Police say DNREC units found an unmanned boat near Seagrass Plantation in Dagsboro around 2 o'clock Saturday afternoon. Officials say search crews found the body Sunday. That boater's identity and the circumstances of their death in the Indian River Bay remains unknown this morning.
Delaware State Police are investigating a pedestrian crash that killed a man in Sussex County over the weekend. According to police, a car was stopped at the red light at the intersection of DuPont Boulevard and Milton-Ellendale Highway in Ellendale. This was around 11 o'clock Saturday night. Police say a passenger in the stopped car, 23-year-old Malachi Gibbs of Harrington, got out and walked into the intersection where a car struck and killed him. Police say the driver of that car also suffered minor injuries. Delaware State Police continue to investigate this deadly Sussex County crash.
At 6:35, the Israel-Hamas conflict is having a personal impact on one Salisbury University professor.
Leonard Robinson is the professor of political science with a special interest in Middle East affairs. He once lived in the areas of conflict, visited many times over the years. Even with international support, he sees a big burden for Israel.
This is a really difficult war for Israel at this point, to try to figure out how they're going to be able to achieve their objectives and not have it eventually kind of turn on them in the sense that international public opinion starts to say, wait a minute, now you've gone too far, now you're killing a bunch of Palestinian civilians, because that's what inevitably happens with these wars that they fight against these non-state actors.
Sure.
Professor Robinson says he doesn't believe America will get drawn into the war unless more American hostages are taken. But President Biden says several U.S. citizens are likely among those taken hostage in the Israel-Hamas conflict.
It's 6:36. Restaurants on the eastern shore of Maryland are rallying against a proposed law around how servers are paid. Rachel Pierce joins us in the Newsplex this morning. Morning, Rachel. This legislation, right now it's only being proposed across the bridge, but the worries are stretching all the way over here.
Hey, good morning, Jimmy. This law is being proposed all the way in Montgomery County, but restaurants here are so worried about it going statewide, they are rallying against the bill right out from the gates. This law would begin to phase out tip credit. Right now, restaurants pay their workers about $4 an hour, and then their tips are expected to bring their take-home pay to or exceed minimum wage. The proposed legislation would increase the $4 pay all the way to the minimum wage. Those pushing for the legislation say it will ensure fair pay for their workers. Opponents say restaurants will have to increase their prices and customers just won't tip as much.
It's going to change the restaurant industry, period. You won't have full-service restaurants. Restaurant owners won't be able to afford servers.
We live day to day to feed our children and to pay our rent. We don't have paychecks to count on. So we live day to day. We've been underpaid for way too long.
There is a public hearing today at 1:30 in Montgomery County, and Bill Chambers, who you just heard from, said he'll be there to make sure the voice of Eastern Shore restaurants is heard loud and clear. Jimmy, back to you.
Whole new emphasis on tip your server. Rachel Pierce, thank you.
At 6:37, for the first time in a long time, the Lewis-Rehoboth Canal is getting some much-needed relief. A
3-month dredging project in the canal is underway. It's been about 20 years now since the last time the canal's been dredged. U.S. Army Corps of Engineers hired a company called Dredge It for the project. General Manager of the Lewis Yacht Club, Greg Rashdorf, says up until now, everybody was responsible for their own dredging.
So I've been here 6 years. We have not had a major dredging. I think right now what happens is all the individual marinas dredge their own marina out, and then it silts back in. In our marina, I know several years ago, it got so shallow that boats were sitting in the mud. So you have to remove that so the boats can move in and out freely.
The project will begin at the Roosevelt Inlet and go to Freeman's Bridge. Crews will be working 7 days a week from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. to complete dredging in the Lewis-Rehoboth Canal by the end of December.
It is 6:38 on WBOC News this morning. I don't know why I like this shot so much. I really do. Live look into Rehoboth Beach from the Boardwalk Plaza Hotel camera.
It's absolutely beautiful. It's chilly in the mornings, Mike, but the good thing is it warms up fairly quickly.
That's why we love the early part of fall.
Yes.
Because you get that warm up very nicely, very quickly. Once we get to November and early in December, that warm up isn't quite as drastic, and so a chilly morning usually leads to a chilly afternoon across the area. This morning, we're waking up in the 40s, and some of us hanging on to the low 50s. That's about where we should be for this time of year. Overall, not too bad. We did see a few showers late yesterday evening, the first part of the overnight. And notice how these showers that rolled across Delmarva, by the time they got to the Atlantic, turned into thunderstorms because it interacted with the warmer waters of the Atlantic just sitting out there. We still have water temperatures out there in the upper 60s and low 70s just off of our coastline. So another piece of energy begins to swing around this upper level low. Will approach us as we get into the evening and overnight tonight. Could lead to a couple more showers later on today. And so we're just in this blocking pattern where the atmosphere can't do much, so this upper level low sits and spins. Eventually here in the next day or so, that upper level low will finally be able to move and get out of here. Stop annoying us with these chances for a couple stray showers overnight. Here's 11:30 on Futurecast for tonight. Notice those showers roll across the area. Not the biggest chance in the world. It's actually less of a chance that you see a shower overnight tonight than you did last night, but just know that it's going to be there. Overall, during the day, it's a nice day. Maybe a little breeze picks up this afternoon. Maybe we get a couple gusts here, 15 to 20 miles per hour. 60s and low 70s, that's right where we should be for this time of year, with plenty of sunshine for everybody to enjoy later on this afternoon. The dry air overhead from the cool Canadian air that's still diving in keeps all the emojis smiling for the next couple of days. Overnight, tomorrow night into Thursday, a bit of cloud cover overspreads the area. This, as an area of low pressure passes by to our south, bringing rain to the deep south, but comes close enough to us that we'll have a few extra clouds around as we get things going on Thursday. It turns into a nice afternoon with temperatures warming nicely into the 70s. And as we work into Friday, a bit more in the way of humidity there. Mid to upper 70s with a whole lot of sunshine as high pressure is in control of our forecast for literally a day. Then we get to Saturday, we'll wake up dry, so any flag football games early on Saturday should be okay. It's once we get past the lunch hour where rain chances start to go up, and once they do go up, they'll be up for Saturday night and into early on Sunday.
Because they play football when it's cold, too.
Oh, gosh.
Yes.
Don't remind me,
I'm just
please.
saying.
Yeah.
Well, the good news is, we were talking yesterday morning about how chilly it was in the upper 30s. Near a few weeks, that upper 30s is going to feel really nice.
That's going to be warm. And we'll be like, this is amazing.
Yeah, I think you're right. Thanks, Mike.
got it.
In this morning's Top Talkers, gigantic gourd, how much the world's heaviest pumpkin weighs.
Plus, a distinct dwelling. Why this house in Michigan has lots of people talking, as if you couldn't guess. 6:42 on WBOC News this morning. 6:44 on WBOC News this morning. Some of the most talked about stories in this morning's Top Talkers. A Minnesota farmer set a new world record Monday for having the world's greatest gourd.
Started out basketball round, okay, believe it or not, and it's definitely not basketball round right now.
Nope. Travis Ginger's gourd weighed in at 2,749 pounds during the 50th annual Safeway World Heavyweight Championship in California. Folks in Waco, Texas had a quacking good time for a good cause. 6,000 rubber ducks dropped into the Brazos River for the first ever Great Waco Duck Race. Attendees donated $5 to compete in the race with more than $20,000 raised. There was another race in Georgia over the weekend. This one featured wiener dogs.
People love their wiener dogs. It's kind of a thing. And some of these folks have dogs, wiener dogs that aren't racing but are here to watch. And so it's the cutest thing.
Wiener dog. More than 50 wiener dogs participated, the winner of each race receiving a gift card. Michigan family has what you might call an out-of-this-world home.
When I imagined us moving into a house, I obviously didn't imagine us moving into a circle house.
Jenny Shire, Jimmy Postina, and their kids now call this house that resembles a UFO home. Built in 1994, the fixer-upper has never-ending curves from the walls all the way to the countertops. The family, by the way, is posting their renovation updates on TikTok.
Even with renovations, Jimmy, unless the shape changes, that's a spooky and an ugly house. Ugh. It's 6:46.
Hi there, everybody. Good morning to you. Happy Tuesday. Here's a look at Coffee Cast, presented by our friends at Royal Plus. And yes, it's hot coffee this morning. Temperatures rather comfortably cool in the 40s and 50s right now, with highs this afternoon right where we should be for this time of year, 60s and 70s. So you can go ahead and switch over to the iced coffee with plenty of sunshine to be enjoyed. Now, as we go into the overnight tonight, notice that another piece of energy swings around this upper level low, heads this way, starts to bubble up some clouds, and maybe just a couple stray showers here or there overnight tonight. I don't think the chance of rain tonight as big as it was yesterday, but certainly enough that we have to mention it. And then again, maybe just that little bit of an extra breeze late this afternoon as that piece of energy does arrive. Eventually, this upper level low breaks down, begins to move. Area of low pressure to our south passes by overnight Wednesday to Thursday, brings us some extra clouds as we start things off on Thursday, but by Thursday afternoon, we'll start to clear things out. Nice day on the way for Friday, and then we get to Saturday. And unfortunately, the weather forecast goes downhill from there. The chance of rain begins to arrive by Saturday afternoon and Saturday evening, continues into Saturday night, and we could even see a few of those showers linger into Sunday.
United Auto Workers Union members are now striking against Mack Trucks after voting down a tentative 5-year contract deal over the weekend. The union says 4,000 workers walked off the job yesterday. This comes nearly a month after the UAW began its strike against select plants run by the Big Three U.S. automakers. The attack in Israel has prompted major U.S. airlines to suspend flights to and from Tel Aviv. American, United, and Delta all canceled flights after the State Department issued travel advisories for the region. Many airlines in Europe and Asia are also putting flights on hold. And the price of mailing a letter could go up again in the new year. The U.S. Postal Service has filed a notice with regulators on its plan to raise the cost of a stamp from the current 66 cents to 68 cents starting January 21st, 2024. If approved, it would be the 5th price hike since 2021. That's your CBS News Money Watch report. For more, log on to cbsmoneywatch.com. At the CBS Broadcast Center, I'm Jared Hill.
It is 6:54 on WBOC News this morning.
Here's a quick look at today's top stories. Grief and sadness continue for the Delmar community after a tragic car crash over the weekend killed a Delmar High School student, seriously injured another. School officials say they continue to put their strength into healing.
The Israel-Hamas conflict is having a personal impact on Salisbury University professor Leonard Robinson. After spending several years in the Middle East, Robinson says he sees a big burden for Israel, even with international support.
Restaurants on the eastern shore of Maryland are rallying against a proposed Montgomery County law increasing servers' pay to the minimum wage. Local restaurants fear this bill eventually will be implemented statewide.
And for the first time in a long time, the Lewis-Rehoboth Canal is getting some much-needed relief. A 3-month dredging project got underway Monday. It's been about 20 years since the last time the Lewis-Rehoboth Canal was dredged. And that's a look at this morning's top stories for a Tuesday.
Taking a live look into Ocean City's Bayside from our Royal Plus camera. After the break, Mike's planning out your Tuesday morning forecast for you at 6:55 on WBOC News This Morning.
You're watching WBOC News This Morning, and we've got a nice day coming up today.
A really nice day on the way. After a cool start out the door, but it's not as cold as it was yesterday. Because yesterday you were shivering. Today you were just a little shade, not too much. Out the door this morning, we have temperatures in the 40s and 50s. As you can see, it's 50 here in Salisbury with a live look from our Spicer Brothers construction camera atop the bell tower at SU. With plenty of sunshine today, we'll see all those high temperatures climb up to where we should be for this time of year, 60s and low 70s. Now, overnight tonight, we may see a couple more spotty showers here or there. It's not as big of a chance as it was last night, but just know that that chance is there. We'll see a few extra clouds around Wednesday night into Thursday as an area of low pressure passes by to our south. Our next real chance for rain rolls into the forecast on Saturday.
So now a good gauge of the temperature is Tamika shivering or just kind of a minor tremor. Another look at your local news and weather in 30 minutes. Taking a live look into the CBS Morning Studio in New York City. Coming to you live in a moment. Coming up, Nora O'Donnell anchors the show's team coverage from Israel and sits down with a mother who helped her family escape militants.
And don't forget, for weather, news, sports, anytime, you can get it now on WBOC.com. Have a great day.